I can't have children according to my lease. But I think you do get what you need in life sometimes, not in the way that you think, but I'm so blessed because my husband has an adorable 5-year-old mentality. But he has 2 amazing sons from a previous poker game, and they're the loves of my life. They are 12 and 15, I think, and we're really communicating now. They just started saying things to me like, I don't have to listen to you. You're not my mother. You know, because they hear my husband saying that to me, and they think it's okay.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to The Point. I'm your guest host this week, Dave Rubin. Fear not, this is not what Anna looks like without makeup. She will be back next week, I promise you. This week, we are going to be talking all about the C word. Not that C word, the one that's even more controversial. I'm talking about comedy, and we've got a great panel for you, starting with the lady who you just saw just a moment ago, Miss Wendy Liebman, who's tweeting as we speak. We
live
told
tweeting.
You to shut the phone. Live tweeting. You know Wendy, she's had Comedy Central, half hour, HBO special, Showtime special. She's taken a picture of me as we speak. Next up, Mr. Jimmy Dore, who certainly everyone on the TYT universe knows who Jimmy Dore is. He's also had a Comedy Central half hour and hour, as you made sure to tell me right before we started.
Nice,
so
thanks
good
for
to
remembering.
see you.
Thank you.
You got it. And Bill Santiago, who also has a Comedy Central half hour.
Seems like the requirement here at the table today.
Yes, and you also are on CNN in the mornings with Miss Randy Kay.
That's correct, yeah.
All right, guys, well, we're going to talk comedy, which I hope that after the years that we've all been doing this, we're all well versed in. And Wendy, I'm going to start with you because we just saw your clip, and I want to start with social media, how it's changed what we do. And you your style of comedy, the one-liners, the bait and switch, you were sort of tweeting on stage before Twitter ever existed.
Well, I feel like Twitter and Facebook were invented for me because I write jokes that are 140 characters exactly. And no, it really did change my life because now I wake up and I try to think of funny things all day long so that I can entertain my 2 followers. No, but seriously, it really has changed my life for the better. Made me more creative, made me also see what other people are saying, and I realize I'm funniest when I'm around funny people because it's a little bit competitive. So,
does it ever bother you that you were sort of doing that quick bite thing, and now everybody, social media and Twitter especially, has forced everyone into doing what you sort of were doing way before?
Well, I do get residuals. No, I think it's great. I think jokes should be concise, and I've learned to make them even less wordy.
Yeah. more less wordy. There you go. Jimmy, what about social media? You're a podcaster, you've got a show here, you're doing a mix of everything. How do you feel like social media has changed the way you do comedy and interact with your audience and all that?
Well, it's allowed me to become much more annoying to people I don't know. I can tell people about all the gigs that I'm doing that they couldn't give a shit about, and all the things that I'm thinking that no one cares. I find Twitter fascinating because I don't think that way on Twitter. Certain people do, it's really good. I can live tweet, I like live tweeting something like the Oscars or the president's speech or something. That's always fun to live tweet, and you see what other people are writing, and that's always a good time. But as far as social media, Facebook is useful for me because I do what I call unconstructive arguing on Facebook. Basically, I just go on there and argue about Sandy Hook, and it's weird because I actually do get a lot of material out of it, right? So people will say things to me, and on Facebook in the arguments. Twitter, not so much. I don't get much out of that.
Right, all right, so that's a perfect segue. Bill, how do you use the interaction with the people? Do you argue with your people on Facebook? Are you fighting with people on Twitter? And do you retweet the hate, which is one of my biggest pet peeves is when comics, they say something slightly offensive, oh my God, and then next thing you know, they're just retweeting all the people saying awful things about them. How do you use that whole...
I mean, I'm not afraid of retweeting, negative comments that that's kind of fun, and then you get into an argument and you answer them. Some guy just, he didn't tweet me, he emailed me the other day something some very harassing comment. He emailed me straight, and you know, so I'm trying to plan like, how do I do that? It's such a long-winded thing. Do I just put that on Facebook? Do I send that out as a newsletter, as a whole response? So you have to figure out how to deal with it. You know, I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with the whole. All of the options, the Twitter, the Facebook. How much time do you spend? I have like 3 Facebook pages. You have to keep all of those populated. So today someone tweeted something about the show and I was going to just retweet it. I was in bed and I could have just hit that button. But then I'm like, but then I got to post it to Facebook. So let me wake up and go to Hootsuite and log in, and then it goes all out at the same time. So, you know, it's an effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes I don't know if they're, like, did they send it to me on Facebook, or did they tweet it to me, or send a private tweet message, or did they just text message me? Like when I was looking for the address here. I had to figure out how did it get to me?
Yeah, well, you know, we're slightly jumping ahead into the next topic, but let's just roll with it. So, how much of this has affected the way you guys do stand-up? Because in the old days, we're all sort of old school, I think, a little bit. And in the old days,
you just called us old.
No,
I included myself. And for the record, as I said before we started, I'm the only one here without a Comedy Central half hour.
Okay.
So I know my place. Don't worry about that.
All right.
But you know, in the old days, you had to have thoughts and put them in a notebook, and then you try it out on stage and go from there. Sounds very old, right? That's
Yes.
old time. Now, we're constantly putting this stuff out. Do you guys ever fear that you're putting too much stuff out for free when this is the stuff you should be saving? Jimmy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, you know, that is a fear. I do where like, oh, if I tweet this joke and then I tell it on my show this week, people are gonna go, yeah, I read your tweet earlier. It turns out not so many people read all your tweets. So
Really?
that turns,
Please?
no matter, it really is, like, I don't know how many people get to see tweets. I don't know how many tweets I see. So yeah, at first it made me nervous, but then even if people do read your tweet, they won't remember, they'll laugh when they see you. They don't remember a joke that they read, especially a week or 2 or a month later. So
Yeah.
I got rid of that fear right away.
Yeah, Wendy, how often do you put something out on social media that then actually makes it to your act where you might make a dime or two?
Well, I just started like writing down my tweets and then bringing them to the club and going through them. What I realized is that probably a third of them are rim shot jokes where it's good on social media but not so good in a club.
Yeah.
So maybe 1 in 10 jokes makes it to the stage.
Yeah. Bill, do you fear that? This idea that you're getting this stuff out and, you know, it's just more, but is it doing anything actually, you know?
Well, at first I wasn't sure, you know, that I'm looking around, everyone puts everything online. You know, like there are entire, you know, 1-hour performances online for every comedian, you know, and...
You mean like on a YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube. You can get everybody's like 1-hour specials, you know, or 1-hour club sets, like the entire thing online. And you would think that would like, you know, dilute your audience, like they don't want to see it again, but that's not the case, you know, because they don't remember all of it, and it kind of brings more fans in, and then, so I'm not afraid of putting it out there, you know. I kind of break it up, like I haven't put a whole hour out there, but I break up little chunks and then just, you know, wait to see who picks it up.
Yeah, I find it fascinating how everyone deals with this. For example, I have no stand-up of mine on YouTube because to me that's something that I sort of want to own in a way. But certainly as Wendy knows, I am an over-tweeter. To me, that's how you gain the audience that hopefully you can bring to some profitable place at some point. So I want to talk about what you mentioned earlier, Jimmy, about the live tweeting, and that we all share this experience together. And I love those things. Do you guys all do the live tweets of
Done it.
of events? Is there something that you find like particularly in your wheelhouse? I know Jimmy and I are the politics guys. Is there something that, you know, it's on and you go, that's my thing?
Yeah, during the debates, you know, that's when I was doing most of the live tweeting during the last election. I just felt compelled to do it. So, you know, and I know the people that follow me are into that too. So you're up there, you have thoughts, and then you're interacting with them as their thoughts are coming in too. You know, and that's it's fun. Again, it's just time. You know, you have to find the time to do all this because there's another creative process I feel that's separate from this, and you still have to like make that a priority and dedicate time to just going through your notebooks and getting the stuff out that you know is going to make it right to the stage and doesn't have to go through the social media process, so then you can edit that down to figure out what also works on the stage.
You know, it's funny,
the stage is a priority.
I can literally see your eyes lighting up as you talk about that, which is the thing that we all first loved, stand-up, and it's been so altered by this thing. What's your sort of wheelhouse thing if you were going to live tweet something?
Well,
yeah.
I live tweeted the Oscars. Like I thought Kristen Stewart this year was auditioning for the sequel to Les Mis. the way she looked. But I also live tweet like my dentist appointment and things like that. I mean, a lot of other people aren't on Twitter at the same time.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of the Oscars, can we give your father-in-law a shout out right
That would
here?
be so sweet.
Because can you tell everybody the story?
My father-in-law is one of the two Sherman brothers who wrote a lot of the music for Disney, including Mary Poppins and Jungle Book and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which isn't Disney, but they also wrote the song It's a Small World. And Don't Hit Me. And my father-in-law, my husband was, he influenced the song Spoonful of Sugar because he came home from school and his father said, "What'd you do today?" He said, "Oh, they gave us the Salk vaccine for polio." And my father-in-law said, "You let them give you a shot?" And he said, "No, they put a sugar cube on the spoon and we ate the sugar." And my father-in-law wrote Spoonful of Sugar.
Yeah.
As
My
the
God, what a
medicine
great
go
story.
down.
And the reason I think it's worthy of giving him a shout out is because he did pass away this year, and he was not included in the memoriam thing.
For the Grammys, no, but they did for the Oscars.
all right.
So that.
We all want credit. I want credit for other people. That's how ingrained like approval is for
That's
comedians.
really nice, right? Like he won 3 Grammys. He should have been on the Grammy
Yeah.
Awards, but.
All right, back to social.
Okay, back
go
to
ahead, Jimmy.
comedy.
Go.
No, I'm sure that's going to make a big ruckus now. I mean,
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we can finish up with social media with this. Is there one of these things that you absolutely hate? Is there one of these things, and which one is just too much for you?
Friendster. Do not.
You're over
Not
it.
like I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. You know what I do hate is
Yeah.
the invitations to LinkedIn
Yeah.
or LinkedIn, however you say it. If
What were the 2 ways you said it there?
LinkedIn or LinkedIn, I said it the same way
said
twice.
LinkedIn or LinkedIn? I think it's
LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
or LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Is it Lincoln?
Lincoln.
Abraham? And-
LinkedIn.
But if ignoring those requests hurts you, I'm going to be really hurt.
Your
Yeah.
clout
Because-
score is going to go down.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
How often
It's
do you
just
guys check all that
unbelievable.
nonsense?
Clout,
Let's do it. Let's just do it.
Pinterest, MySpace,
Instagram.
I don't know what any of those are.
Yeah.
Right.
Sticking to
the
Facebook.
Pinterest thing. Like I have so many hundreds of followers on Pinterest. I don't even know. I don't remember signing up for Pinterest.
What are
And
you posting? Pinterest
I
is
don't-
all
I
women
really-
posting cakes
It's
and
just a
things.
lot of
Is
pictures.
it?
I don't know. I don't remember signing up for it.
Yeah.
You know, but I have tons of followers waiting for
Really?
me to put up some pictures or something. Yeah.
It's like I have a. Oh,
No, go ahead.
I have a Tumblr page
Oh, I
that I didn't even know I had. Someone made it. It said Jimmy. I'm like, oh, look at all this stuff I've been doing. I'm busy.
You
look
have
at
a
that.
fan Tumblr.
I guess so.
How much better does it get than that?
And not much. Not much.
Wait, do you have to get a fan to do that for you?
I didn't get it. It just
if you
happened.
pay them, if you pay them.
I just
Oh.
was Googling. My wife Googled. She goes, look, you have a Tumblr page. And I was like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So there's too much stuff to keep track of. So I think most people, I do the Twitter and the Facebook and everything else just is, it's too much. Come on, who's got that kind of
I'm
time?
going back to rotary
But I think
phone.
everybody's trying to figure out what the next big thing is that they
Yeah.
don't want to miss.
Right.
You want to get in on that because
Yeah.
I feel like I've missed every one of them.
Yeah.
Every one of them, I thought this is going nowhere. So now, like anything that comes out, I'm like, oh, this could be it. This could be it. I gotta start it. I gotta get up. I gotta sign up.
And isn't that pressure? Isn't that pressure completely insane? I'm posting Vine things now. It's the stupidest 6 seconds of my dog licking a bone. It's like when is?
Yeah, what is Vine? I've been reading about
6
Vine.
seconds? 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay,
You want to
but-
explain it?
What
are
is
you on the
Vine?
Vine,
Vine
Jimmy?
is a program on your phone. You can take a video of 6 seconds and post it to Twitter. And so it's just a 6-second video. It's real quick.
We
right?
can call this the
Like-
grumpy comedian show
So it's like-
about, oh, our burden. Look at us.
No, I love Twitter. I really love Twitter, and I love Facebook. I
So-
do, but it's all the other ones that.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like a GIF almost, right? A GIF?
Yes.
So that's what Vine is. It's like a little,
Thank you for spelling out GIF for me. I appreciate that.
well, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. All right, well, I think we've gotten the social media portion of this out of the way, and next we are going to get to what brought a glimmer to Bill's eye. We're going to talk about old school stand-up, how it's changed, and what the future might hold. We'll be right back.
Right? Corey, you grew up on that computer porn, right? Which I don't know if you guys have seen the computer porn. Gross. It's just gross. It's all mechanics. You press the play button, it's just... I'm right in the middle of something. It's not like in the 80s when I grew up, when the guys who made porno still liked women. Right? They didn't spit on them or slap them in the face or hit them with their dicks. They were nice to them. They were appreciative, right? They put a gel on the camera. Somebody knocked on the door. They came in, they had pizza. Maybe a TV got fixed.
Welcome back to The Point. I'm Dave Rubin. Don't worry, Anna will be here next week. I know the commenters are going berserk right below us right this second. That was Jimmy Dore doing a little stand-up. And Jimmy, I have to say, comedians, we don't like watching ourselves, do we?
Yeah, I pretend I don't. And, so, because it makes me seem humble and like a regular person,
Yeah.
but I love it.
How do you feel? Tell me really, how do you feel when you're watching yourself do stand-up?
It's tough to watch myself unless I've had a long time to watch it. Like I can go back and watch my old television appearances now, but when they first happen, you just see all the flaws. I think like all comedians who are worth their salt, I think they first see the flaws before they see the things that you did right. That's, yeah.
And when you watch the old ones and now you can see that they were good, or even the stuff that was the flaws, can you feel the progression? I mean, can you really feel it? Can you watch it and go, oh, I screwed that up, or the timing wasn't right there, but look what I can do now? Is that
what I know normally? Right away I feel that way, like, oh, I screwed that up, I did that wrong, but then as time goes by, I'll look back and go, that wasn't bad, that was pretty good, that was all right. No wonder they hired me again.
Yeah. Bill, what about you? Do you like watching? Have you ever sat there and watched your Comedy Central half hour and gone, God, I could have done that differently, or that pause? Or
It took years before I watched it. You know, it felt good, people liked it, and then you go back and you criticize it, but it takes a while before I can watch something. Even like, and I tape every performance, you know, because I like to document and go back, because there's little things that you weren't expecting to say, or transitions, and you can use those over, but it takes me a long time. I never go back immediately. It can take years, you know, and then you wish, oh, I should have watched that the day after, because it would have been very helpful 2 years ago. You know?
Wendy, what about you? Can you watch these things and feel good
Do you
while
watch
while you're doing it?
Magic Johnson show appearances, do you ever watch those?
I don't even think I have that. But I can watch myself on mute, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe. And then as time goes on, then I can turn the sound up and I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And oh my God, I was so skinny. And I didn't know, I didn't appreciate how like skinny or funny I was.
That's what you're critiquing.
Yeah.
That must be the difference between male comics and female comics. I've never watched myself and thought, oh, I was skinny or I was fat. You know, it's all about the joke. But I guess even for a woman who's a great comic, you get that. They still want you to be sexy all the time, and you know, do you feel that as a female comic?
Well, I am sexy all the time. No, it's taken me 28 years to figure out what to wear on stage.
You're 28? You look great.
Thank you. But no, it really has taken me a long time to figure out what I want to show. And I have decided I'd like to be more like.
What are you showing? What are you showing these days
I pretty
that
much
you weren't
don't
showing?
show anything. Like I like to be very kind of non-feminine, I guess. And I don't wear heels. I have to wear flats.
Interesting. What do you make of this sort of new breed of female comics, like the Chelsea Handlers and the Whitney Cummings, who it's so based in attraction and sexiness and all that?
But they're both self-deprecating.
Yeah.
So I saw Whitney. I think she's gorgeous. I wish she weren't as self-deprecating, because I want to see her just flaunting it.
Yeah.
But I love Chelsea and I love Whitney.
Jimmy, as a very sexy man, how do you decide how much skin you're going to show when you're on stage? How do you use the sex appeal?
You know, I think it's wrong. At first, I used to show a lot more tit than I do now. But
You showed side tit.
I did, side.
There's a little, yeah.
But you know what's funny? I don't know how much everybody thinks about. Obviously, women have. It's a tougher thing for women, because because comedy is generally a masculine endeavor, and to be able to get a room full of people to shut up and listen to everything you have to say is kind of a masculine endeavor. So it's tough to retain your femininity and still be hilarious. I think she pulls it off. As far as a guy, I mean. Yeah, you don't want to look too good on stage. You don't want to dress. I mean, I always admire guys who wear suits on stage, because I wish I could. I want to wear a suit on stage, but I'm afraid that it would send the wrong message or something.
Right.
I don't know if it means how much it means, but I do You know, like there's a young guy, Ryan Stout, he always wears a suit, and I'm like, he always looks good up there.
Yeah.
Wish I had the balls to do that.
Why don't you wear a suit?
Because I'm afraid that
You wearing one now?
Yeah, I believe that's a suit. I
He's not wearing
That's really
pants.
suit like, oh, no pants.
No, I mean a suit coat. I mean, I'm like a real suit.
Real
He has a suit pants
Right.
and a tie. A suit coat is, I wear a suit coat on stage sometimes, no big deal.
A lot of comics graduate to that when they feel that it's time.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
actually,
to give up
Right.
the T-shirts, and they want to like position themselves for a host job or something like that. They start wearing suits all the time.
I think that's a great point because you can look at Seinfeld, who's basically the king of stand-up, and if you watch his old stuff from the '80s, you know, he did wear like a sports jacket
Yeah.
kind of thing, but oversized and sort of comical. And now he goes on with probably what is a $5,000 suit,
Sure.
and it is perfectly, you know. How do you deal?
Status is
Yeah.
his clout rating on LinkedIn is so high. He has to dress like that.
They're-
on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how do you deal with the wardrobe thing? I mean, it's pretty much what you're wearing now, but it is part of what we do that people don't realize. You really do have to
You
think
do
about
put some
this
thought into it, and then it always goes wrong. The more
Yeah.
thought you put into it, it backfires. I will say this: like if I pick something out to wear, like a shirt or something, you know, even if it's just a T-shirt, if I have a bad set, I will never wear it again.
Oh, sure.
Because it's cursed now. It's
Yeah.
bad luck. I will.
Yes.
The second I put it on, I remember it just going down the
I gave that
tubes.
coat away that I wore on that clip. I did.
Did you
because-
really?
Yeah, because I was like, I don't want this anymore.
Ah.
Well, I'm
Not that
glad
it
we
was-
showed that clip
No,
then.
no,
That
I
was-
liked the set, but it had like a
It has-
memory.
yeah.
A memory.
Yeah,
right.
But I heard this one male comedian. He said he wanted to wear a tie, but it couldn't be too funny, but it had to be a little funny. It was all about the tie.
Right. Well, those are the parts of this whole thing that nobody thinks about. That
The thing is, if you are thinking about it on stage, it's ruined. You
Yeah.
cannot go on stage and be thinking about it. You know, like a lot of times you go to do like a TV taping, right? And you want to wear something new. But if you've never worn it before, you're thinking about it too much, and it plays with your head, it screws with your head, and it interferes with, you know, that sort of like subconscious state you want to be, where you're just going with it. You know, when
Yeah.
you're thinking about, well, is it right? Or you feel like a little pinch or something, or like that it ruins it.
Yeah, well, that shows how
Exactly.
intimate truth is to stand up. So let's talk a little bit about how you guys started, because I'm fascinated by this all the time, because we all sort of have a similar story in a weird way, and that it's always different. So two of you guys, Wendy and Bill, you guys are New York, and Jimmy, you are Chicago. So we'll start with the outsider, because I'm a New York guy too.
Oh, okay.
How was starting stand up in Chicago?
It was just like anywhere. I went to an open mic, you know, it was actually by my house. When I started in Chicago, there must have been, I think, 12 or 14 full-time comedy clubs. So it was pretty, you couldn't, yeah.
What year are we talking now?
We're talking, this is the early 50s. And, no, it's this early 90s, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of clubs, and it was real. I just went up to an open mic. I had a good set the first time, and then I didn't get a laugh for a month after that, which is, a lot of people have
Yeah.
that, who become comedians have that similar experience. Their first time goes well, and then it doesn't go well for a while.
But you've already got that feeling, and then you can't stop. No
Yes,
matter what.
no, yeah. Then you're like, what? Don't you remember? This was funny. I did this before.
Yeah.
It's funny how you said, you say, like, if you have a bad set, you won't wear those clothes, but you'll do the same jokes.
That's true. That's what I'll try to
Years later,
I
you're
don't
going,
give up on the jokes, because it was the clothes that
Couldn't be
screwed up
the
the jokes. It was not the material.
it was the crowd, that's what they always say. What about you, Wendy? Because you started really in a time that I think was the real boom of stand-up, right? Was it
started
really
in the
exploding?
mid-'80s.
So that was it.
But it was like right after this huge wave, because I was a little behind because I had just started then. But I was in Boston, actually. I'm from New York, but I started comedy in Boston. I took a class at the Cambridge Center for Adult Education on how to be a stand-up comedian. Ron Lynch was my teacher. He still does stand-up. He's on the Sarah Silverman show. And it really was just an excuse to get together and drink beer. But it was a great launching point, and I had the same experience. My first show was great, and then after that, who knows for how long I just stood there. But it was in me. It was like addictive. I had a day job, and I would take the T in Boston and pass Stitches, which was the comedy club I
Yep.
performed at. And I remember looking out at Stitches and going, I was on stage there last night. And then I had to go to my secretarial
Me
job.
and Vinny Favorito.
Exactly.
How much of your comic voice did you have right when you started? Did you always know that your style was your style, or were you doing different stuff right at the beginning?
I think I told just jokes, not like old-fashioned jokes, my jokes. But then, as I stood on stage, I didn't like standing there in silence, so I would add a punchline and add a punchline. And I got it from listening to the comedians who were popular then. It was like Kevin Meaney, John Gavin, Bill Broadus, Brian Kiley, Laura Keitlinger, Jonathan Katz. So it's like I heard them and I kind of imitated them, and that's how my style
Bill, what about you?
developed.
What was, did you start? You started in New York, right?
Yeah, I did a few open mics in New York, but then I wanted like a job to support it that had to do with writing. So I went into journalism, and then I ended up in Puerto Rico for like 5 years writing in a paper there. No
How's the stand-up scene in Puerto Rico?
Terrible.
There
was
there
none.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, for 2 weeks. Right? So
I
that's
was
how
there.
the stand-up
Yeah.
scene is.
Wait, it literally was there for 2 weeks?
Probably longer, but I was there for the first 2 weeks of the improv at the El San Juan
Right.
Comedy Club.
By the time I went to check it out, it was gone.
Right.
And but I'm still,
Puerto Rico doesn't support live comedy, huh?
now a little bit, but it's such a separate scene. I actually thought, like in my mind, like, oh, I'll just fly back every weekend and I'll keep it going, but it never panned out.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I went to San Francisco. It's a city that I was associated with great stand-ups and just a great environment. And I did a tour of a bunch of cities just to test it out. I went to a different comedy club in each one, and San Francisco was it. And I moved there to do it. And that's started out at a little place there called the Luggage Store, which was just like an art space. It was nothing. It was in the worst part of town. You had to go by battalions of homeless people to get in, and it was great.
Yeah.
No microphone, no nothing, no stage, just
knapsack minimum.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
How much do you guys think that the city that you come from and that you get your chops in affects your whole thing? Because
Huge.
New York has the idea it's grittier. Chicago has the real improv influence and not as scripted maybe. LA has sort of a more give me a word here that's
Laid
not
back?
going to offend all the laid back style. So how much does that affect you?
Well, I just said, starting, I don't know how people start comedy, become a stand-up comedian in Los Angeles, because I think the important thing as a stand-up is you have to, we were talking about this before, is that you find out who you really are as a stand-up when you're in front of a crowd that doesn't like you and you don't care about them. And so I got a lot of that practice because starting in Chicago,
Do you get that practice every night?
almost every night.
In
I
the
do get it.
mirror.
No, but you would go to these places like Fort Dodge, Iowa, and these little towns in Michigan and North Dakota and South Dakota, Indiana, all these little places, and do comedy that you didn't ever want to come back to. So that's how you kind of find out who you were. You were able to fail and find out who you are. And whereas in Los Angeles, if you're doing 7 minutes or a 10-minute set, you're always trying to get laughs because there's always somebody in the room who you're trying to impress. And so it makes your act be able to travel more, I think, the more you do it in the places outside of big metropolis areas. I think I misused that word just now, but
I think it was there.
so I think starting in Los Angeles, I don't know how people. New York, I get it, right? Because there's lots of places to go do comedy. You can go up to Poughkeepsie and do a weekend and stuff like that.
I've been at that Bananas
I've been
in
to that
Poughkeepsie.
Bananas. I've been there.
Open for Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh, very nice.
It was a highlight.
I did Bananas in Hasbrook Heights,
I've
New Jersey.
Done that one too. Bananas. Have you ever been to Bananas?
No.
What's the most
Not in the
ridiculous
club.
comedy
The
club
Naughty
name?
Pine. Sputchies.
Sputchies? That
in
sounds-
Connecticut.
That sounds
There's a
weird.
new one called Magoobies, and
I'm doing it in April.
it's a good club.
Is it?
It is
Yes.
good. It's good.
Okay.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Great
It's a-
audiences.
Nice seating. It's like what do they call it? Stadium seating.
Stadium seating.
But
Okay.
can I?
Yeah,
So
go.
I was more nervous at the beginning finding the club because it would be like in some backwoods area in Boston where there's gravel, there's no real driveway, and there was no GPS. So I would be more nervous finding the gig than I was about performing for the first 3 years.
Yeah, gives you just enough angst
No,
to go on stage with.
seriously, I would have scribbled down the instructions, the directions, and I'd be looking at them while I'm driving and forget about it. Now, kids today, with their GPSs.
Oh, these comics with their OnStar. Ugh. Wait, one quick thing. We got to wrap this one up. But I'm always curious about this. Was there anyone that influenced you guys that disappeared? Because we always think that everyone that's good is just going to magically make it. But is there anyone that you started with or that you were, a couple of years in that you really thought was great that never made it to the other side?
Yeah.
And give her a plug now.
Her name was Terry Coyne. She no longer does stand-up. She's an author now, but she was the best of the best of the best, and I don't know why she stayed on it. She would have been great.
Well, she appreciates that. Jimmy?
Yeah, I opened for a guy named Louis Black. I thought he was going
Louis Black.
I don't know what happened to him, but I thought he had something.
All right, I'm going to Google him. Wendy?
I love Jeff Martyr. He did this thing with 2 microphones, and I ran into him at an airport recently, and he's like either a chiropractor or something else, but he's not doing stand-up anymore. I thought he was great.
So why did he drop out? Why did these people drop out?
That we could probably do a
Another show,
5-hour
another show.
special on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if we inspired you to maybe try stand-up or to
I hope
never
not.
go back to a comedy club, but we'll be right back.
I'm going to have to get my identity stolen, by the way, just so I can stop these people that I have lost touch with deliberately from tracking me down on Facebook. This is getting very annoying. I mean, from second grade, you don't think I have filled the voids in second grade with other people in my life? There is no need for this. I have moved on, you should too. These people I have deleted from my cell phone, popping up on my computer, no. I had a dog once, ran away. The other day he tried to friend me on Facebook. I was like, no, you made your choice. I'm sorry. Keep running. I'm a cat person now.
All right, that was Bill Santiago, who happens to be sitting to my right doing a little stand-up. And Bill, now I noticed in that set, I think you had a notebook sitting on the chair. Is that right? Was that a notebook there?
It could have been. I didn't notice it. I don't remember, but I often do that. Yeah.
Did I just out you? I know comedians. We're all a little bizarre about when you can work material.
I wish I could bring my notebook on stage every night. I saw
Yeah.
George Carlin do that once at a concert hall in San Francisco, and I was blown away. He's like, "This will fast track the process. Let me just read it." And he took it out. He put it on his glasses. And he went through, and it was in his cadence, but it wasn't totally polished. And he explained that's how he goes through his process. And I was blown away. I said, "Man, if he can do it,
Yeah.
I wish I could do that."
He's
every
so
night.
cool. He'll say at the beginning of the show, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes and this. And I think the audience likes that.
Yes, because
when
you
they
get
know what's
in on
going
the
to happen.
process.
Yeah.
But you have to be Carlin, or you have to set it up in the right way, because
Yeah.
not all. I think the audience would have more tolerance for it than the management does. The management doesn't like that.
I
certain clubs
totally-
don't go
Oh, I
for
never
it.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right,
Yeah.
the management's like, oh, this guy's not prepared, but the audience is going, whoa, he's giving me something new, and that's kind of
I
beautiful.
did
But
for the first time ever. I brought notes on stage with me on Friday night at a little coffee shop. And I've never done that before, and it's so freeing
It is,
because
it
it's
is.
stuff I've written on Twitter.
yeah, do you ever fear that you're going to forget, because you're going joke, joke, joke? I mean, it's like a machine. Do you ever fear that something's just
Well,
going
it's
to fly in your
probably
brain?
why I don't have hours of material, because I've like honed what I have.
Yeah.
And it's hard to throw in a new joke now
Yeah.
and again. So I wish I could do what you did.
I wish I could do what you did.
Oh.
Perfection is very admirable.
Jimmy, I wish I could do what you do.
What do you do?
I could see you were being crushed there. That was like a comedian's nightmare, two sitting between, oh, I love you, I love you. All right. But I'm glad you brought up George Carlin, because that brings us perfectly to our next topic, which is the line, and when can we cross it, and when can't we? And because of Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff that we were talking about earlier, are we getting caught more? Because, from Michael Richards and Tracy Morgan, Daniel Tosh, everyone's getting caught in jokes, and now we have to apologize like we're politicians. Jimmy, what's your feeling about the line?
I keep trying to get caught. I cross the line. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
I've been saying the C word left and right. I'm offending every ethnic group. No one cares.
I'll retweet
I'm like,
you.
pull out your cell phone, start filming. I'm saying stuff that's horrible, and no one cares.
I know you're telling the truth right now, because I
It is
feel the
true.
same way, that if I sometimes tweet things that I think are borderline offensive. It's what we all do, and I'm like, I can't wait until someone on CNN goes, oh, that Dave Rubin really pushed it this time with that tweet.
The big controversy was the Onion's tweet, right? Which, I see people being.
So we're talking about the C word tweet.
I come down on the side of comedy, and it was like a heartbreaker for me, because it was like, oh, the one pure thing left in the world was the Onion, and it's not anymore. Because even when Conan apologized for Sarah Silverman saying that joke about Asian American,
Yeah.
it was a joke. It's funny. Obviously, if you don't get satire, you're not allowed to criticize it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Okay, so I think the C word thing that happened at the Oscars, I think is particularly interesting, because it was about a 7-year-old girl, and then the Onion.
9. She was 9.
9 years
Seven
old?
would be entirely different.
7 would have been funny. Yeah, 9. But interestingly, the Onion's never apologized for anything before. Had they said this about, let's say, Ann Coulter? So was this purely an age thing? Like, is that what made this cross the line? What do you
That's
think?
what I think.
That's been said many times about Ann Coulter.
Right, exactly. People would have been retweeting the hell out of it.
I think it was because she was so young, and it was bothersome to
Yeah.
me. I think people at the Onion were genuinely crying when they got all that flack.
Yeah. What do you think of the fact that I'm pretty sure they either well, they definitely disciplined the person who did it, but I think the person might have been fired. What do you make of that? Like, we're supposed to push the line, but then when you accidentally cross over.
Well, it's funny. It's like I never learned the name of that person who wrote it, but so the Onion took the fall for it instead of maybe if that person was just tweeting by themselves, they wouldn't have put that out there. You know, because they fell under the Onion. It was
right,
okay
it's sort
to
of
say
anonymous, bizarrely.
Right.
But do you think it was offensive? Like, do you think they were being mean to her? Or do you know that they were kidding because it was a joke because she's such a wonderful girl, she's the opposite of that thing, and how ironic that someone would be using this word towards that girl. There wasn't malice intended in that joke.
Right, except that she's going to grow up, and now it's always there. And she's going to grow up and see that they called her that, and maybe she doesn't get the irony or the satire.
Right. Well, so that's actually the perfect segue. So when you guys are doing stuff on stage and when you're trying this stuff out, whether you have a notebook or not, in the comedy club, you can say whatever you want.
Yes.
I'm sure all three of you would agree. We've all heard the worst things we've ever heard about humans said in comedy clubs. Do you now fear that everyone's got the iPhone and they're pointing it at you and going, this could show up? I know Jimmy doesn't. He's waiting for it.
He's waiting for it. He's trying.
I'm going to retell that.
I don't just fear it in a comedy club. I fear it anywhere I go. The people are watching. You know, I'm doing a lot of couch surfing now here in LA, and people leave me alone in their homes, and I'm afraid there's cameras watching everything that I do. I go out on the street. I know I'm looking for surveillance cameras. I feel that I'm always like under some sort of supervision. You know.
You might have a medical condition.
No, I mean, you know, comedy clubs are supposed to be your safety zone. You're supposed to, even if you don't agree, you know, with what people are saying, you're supposed to be able to say whatever the hell you want. And
so in the case of Michael Richards, for example, which was in a comedy club.
Yes. So again, it's not the words you use; it's the intent. It's the intention behind your words. And his words weren't there to make fun of that word or be ironic about that word. He was trying to demean someone who was an African American using that word.
Right.
So that's why there wasn't comedy involved.
Yeah.
And it shows you how hard stand-up comedy is, because Michael Richards, who's a brilliantly comedic actor, doesn't have it as a stand-up comedian, and it's obvious, right? And it was obvious to everybody during that time. I'm almost glad that happened, so we got rid of him from the stand-up comedy.
Well, you know, it's funny. He suffers from, I think, the reverse of what you said before. Like, George Carlin had a certain amount of cachet that he could go up with and do whatever he wanted. And Michael Richards, because he wasn't a seasoned veteran, everyone expected him to have that creed and that background.
Well, so much of it is context, you know, and you have to know what you're getting into. And so he's on stage, and he hadn't been in that situation before. I think he was. Yeah. He didn't know how to handle it. You know. And
can I ask you about so we are all against the Onion, besides me, on the C word joke. So what about?
I actually think it was fine.
Oh, okay. What about Louis C.K. Right, when he called his daughter the C word repeatedly in his act, and it was hilarious. Isn't it the same kind of rule that we would apply to the Onion?
There's context, you know, he's building it around an entire routine. It's his daughter, and you know he doesn't feel that way about his daughter, you know. And
so you thought maybe the Onion did think she was a...
No, but I think the problem is, you know, something like that is something like, it gets taken out of context, right? Because all you see is that. So that's what gets picked up by the media. That's what makes the cycle. And even I was like just unaware that was out there, so I go looking for it, and all I see is a controversy around it, because that's what gets picked up. They are so, you know, they're like that they're sharks looking for that kind of a thing, and so it's not about even what was said or the context. It was short enough. It's like. You know, like all that nip slip stuff on Huffington Post, right? They write stories. They write stories about it, right? And then they show all these other pictures, and it becomes you're filling content. It's just it has nothing to do with what actually happened. You know.
What about Chris Brown and that? With the tweets that he had with what was that?
Jenny
Johnson, right? Now that was a lot of people defended Chris Brown over that, which I thought was gross. They're like, well, you know, he's just a bad boy. Oh yeah, he's just like James Dean.
Right, but you know what? Jenny Johnson, who is a comedian, she not only defended herself. I mean, she won the little Twitter battle. And what is life about if not for Twitter battles?
He went off of Twitter for a while.
Yeah, he keeps doing that. He hits someone, he disappears from Twitter. Anywho, well, we couldn't do a stand-up show if we didn't talk about bombing a little bit. We got to do that, right? If there's anything we can be more proud of. I don't know what it is. Bombing. When's the last time you did it, and how did it feel?
Well, I've never bombed. And, so next.
You know the phrase, though.
I've had some really bad shows, but mostly early on. And I just remember feeling the way that also propelled me to do comedy. I felt alone. I felt like nobody understood me. I felt like killing myself. So it was like why I got into stand-up. I wanted to be heard. So it was like the opposite of that. It was just shameful.
Yeah, only a comedian could put themselves in that situation. You know what I mean? You're trying to get approval, and then you put yourself in the most precarious position where the approval
That's who we
could.
are,
That's the
right?
irony of the entire, career. I mean, that's what you set yourself up for.
Yeah. When's the last time? Or give me a great
Very
bombing story.
recent,
I don't even
happens
need to
all
know
the
if it was the
time.
last time. Yeah.
The last time?
But what does it feel like when it happens? We all. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah, I mean, you get to a point where you realize it's happening. There's nothing you can do about it, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So it's more. It's more. It's not about what happens on stage because you can't get out of it. It depends how long it is. Is it a 7-minute bombing session, or you're there for the whole hour? And when it's over, you have to process it. Was it me? Can I? You got to get back on stage as soon as possible. But
It's got to be the shirt.
Could be a shirt.
Throw that
Was it the
away.
shirt?
I love how comedians always have. Oh, it was my shirt, or my hair wasn't right, or they always say it was the
blame.
crowd.
Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's me.
There's
Yeah.
so many variables, like when you go on in the lineup and what the person ate for dinner or what you ate. I mean,
What were you
just
thinking? How you
never
start? Some
know
new joke you
how
say
you
at the beginning?
started, right?
You
Yes.
thought that was just going to, you were taking a risk and you're going to ride that all the way to the standing ovation and you can't get out of it. You dig a grave for yourself at the top of the show. It's over.
Yeah.
I was doing this exactly what you said. I was doing a Jerry Brown fundraiser down at the W Hotel, and I told him, I said, don't bring me up as a comedian. Just tell them that I'm a radio show host, so they won't expect me to be funny, and then it'll just be a surprise, and they'll think that I'm the funny speaker. Well, it turned out that I opened up with a joke that was kind of ironic, and so they took me seriously, and the joke was, it made me look like I was anti-gay, which I wasn't. And they were like, boo. And I was like, they said, no, you don't get it. And then I thought it would be smart to close with a Hitler joke. And
Know your audience.
it wasn't.
You always open with Hitler and you close with the gay joke.
Eric,
Don't you know that?
Eric Garcetti came up after me, and he said, well, I never had to follow a Holocaust joke before, but here we go. I was already on the elevator. By the time they were introducing the next speaker, I was getting the hell out of there.
Yeah.
I didn't want anything to do with that place.
Well, I literally could talk about this stuff forever, and this is what we all do.
Bombing?
Bombing and how we do it and tweeting and the whole thing, and I know we all could because this is what we do pretty much every night of the week.
We'll be tweeting about this later.
We will
Yes.
literally, and actually thank you guys for not tweeting during the show. I do
problem.
appreciate that.
Wendy
Well, I was joking. It
Cool.
was off because they yelled at me because it was on.
They're very hot.
Siri tweets for me while I'm doing things.
But I'm going to let you guys pimp yourselves out because I know if a comedian can do one thing, it's some self-promotion. So, Bill, take it away.
What? If you want to find out more about what I'm doing, BillSantiago.com. It's all on there.
Simple, to the
Okay.
point, Jimmy.
Well, people, if they don't know, there's the TYT Comedy Channel now. I have a show on there, and you can see all the rest of the stuff I'm doing at JimmyDoreComedy.com.
And if they want to find you on Twitter where you may say something offensive,
It's Jimmy_Dore.
done and done. Wendy.
It's Wendy Liebman at Wendy Liebman, Liebman. And also I have a radio show on KCSN 88.5 with Terry Nunn every Friday, 5 to 7.
Wow, comedians suddenly getting shy during the promotion part. That was interesting. All right, well, I thank you guys for coming in, and I thank you guys for watching. And again, I promise Anna will be back next week. Thank you guys.